The first question is about the election in Netherlands. Yesterday, we know the result of this election. What is your opinion, your impression about the result of this election?
It did not come as a huge surprise for me, especially after it was quite clear that Wilders' party will perhaps not have any coalition partners. And when the majority, when a lot of voters start to say that it's a wasted vote because he won't be able to form a government anyway, that's a big danger in politics, and especially with this row with the Turkish president, it was I think something where the Dutch government has showed that it can confront with Turkey as well, and it has basically drawn a lot of popular vote, I think, for Mark Rutte in the last few days of the elections. So I have to be honest, it didn't come as a huge surprise to me.
Can you explain for Spanish people what is the political project of Jobbik?
Well, that would take us very, very long. I think that would take up an hour if I would start talking about the program. If you could perhaps ask specifically, it would be too much. I mean, our program is 100 pages, which we submitted for the 2014 elections. It depends what area.
But it's too different to the political project of Fidesz?
Of course. It's the most corrupt party we have ever seen on the face of the earth. It is a party with which we don't want to be assimilated to in any way, or made similar to in any way.
For example, in economy, it's too different to Fidesz position.
Completely. Fidesz this is the third government which is led by Viktor Orbán, and throughout the Orbán governments, the economic policy of Fidesz was to advertise Hungary in foreign countries and to foreign investors as a country where the people are well educated, but work for minimal wages. So the Prime Minister, when he goes outside of the country, he says to investors that they should come to Hungary and invest because the labor force is educated but cheap, and the labor laws are flexible. So basically what the Prime Minister of this country says to investors is that Hungary is a colony where you can come and the people are well educated and they work as slaves for nothing. And Viktor Orbán, his political communication is about macro figures. He declares that everybody should have a job in this country, which is a very good objective, but I think there should also be some qualitative criteria. We don't work for like slaves, for peanuts. Wages should be increased in this country. This is why Jobbik 2 days ago has launched the so-called European Citizens Initiative together with 8 other countries from Central Eastern Europe, which had a similar type of economic policy to attract foreign direct investment through low wages. And we want to break with that. We want to draw the European Union's attention to the enormous differences which are within the European Union, and that a European common market cannot be successful if there are such enormous differences in wages between West and Central Eastern Europe.
See, now everybody speak about the European Union. There are the impression is there are Europhobia in many groups, many political parties, in Front National in France, United Kingdom Independence Party, or some movements or groups. What is your position, official position of Jobbik about European Union?
The European Union could be a good project. It could be a good initiative. The only problem is that this bureaucracy which is governing the European Union, which sits in these European institutions, has basically broken away from the European people. They sit on clouds and they don't understand the real concerns of the European people. I don't know whose interests they represent, but they definitely don't represent the European citizens' interests. And this is why when there's a European parliamentary election, the people are not bothered to even go and vote, or if they vote for Eurosceptic parties more and more, who voice their opinion against the European Union. But nonetheless, having said that, I think that we live in very interesting times, especially after Brexit. There is an opportunity for the European Union to rethink the direction of the EU, and from Juncker's speech last week, we can see that there is a thinking in the EU as to how we should proceed. And I think hopefully there is an opportunity to change the course of the EU, especially with more and more Eurosceptic parties rising in various countries. Maybe we can make our opinions stronger and louder and say that we would need a change of direction, and we want to see a European Union which is there for the European citizens, and we are looking for a European Union which is not federalist but which is based on a win-win cooperation of nation states.
See, now in all countries of Europe, the first preoccupation, the first worry for the citizen in general is the immigration. We have the same problem in Spain.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes the politicians speaking about this problem, but the perspective of citizens is very different, I think.
Yes.
There are two discourses. What is the Jobbik solution for this problem?
Well, the Jobbik solution is more or less what Mr. Orbán is doing. I mean, what you have to see, or what you have to understand, is that what Mr. Orbán has done is basically he has acted upon our suggestions. What we said already years ago, years before Mr. Orbán has stepped up firmly against migration, what Jobbik has been suggesting. We have said that there should be a physical border. Hungary has a long Schengen border. It is even longer than Spain's from that respect, that you are surrounded by a sea. Hungary is basically, we have a very long border across the Balkans, where there is basically on the land the movement of migrants continuously through the Balkans, and we have very long borders along the Balkans, threatening the Schengen zone. And I think it is very important that in line with the Schengen agreement, which basically means an obligation to protect the common border of Schengen, and that there is also an obligation to register those people who arrive to these borders, and if it is not possible, then illegal migration should be stopped, and migrants should be kept out of the Eurozone, because in most cases we don't know where these people come from, what background they have, since they don't have any documents and they cannot even identify themselves. So it is an enormous administrative problem, but at the same time I think the problem is even more complex than that, and the root of the problem, migration is only a consequence. The root of the problem is bad foreign policy of the West in all those countries where these migrants originate from. In the past 10 years, and I think this is where we have to start the discussion when we talk about migration, that in the past years, in the past 10 years, the European Union, together with its great allies in the United States and other countries of the West, we have managed to destabilize our neighborhood. We have destabilized the whole of North Africa, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, now recently the Ukraine, where we have basically given false hopes to a country for EU membership, and we have basically helped to destabilize a government which was not favorable to Western interests. I think this stupid foreign policy of Washington and of Brussels has basically led to our neighborhood being destabilized and migration occurring. So I think we should protect our borders and rethink our foreign policy and see how we can get down to quickly stabilizing our neighborhood. From Libya, Syria, Egypt, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Ukraine, otherwise migration is going to be a continuous problem.
What is your opinion about the relation between Russia and Europe? In the last times, after the Ukraine crisis, we see the relation go very, very wrong. What is your opinion? Do you think Europe needs to stay more near to Russia interests or not? What is your opinion about?
Look, the European continent and Russia, they are inseparable. We cannot separate Russia and Europe. Our past is common, our present is common, and our future is common as well. So there is no other alternative but to cooperate in some way and to sit down at the negotiating table and find a solution. I think the European leaders and the EU has completely misinterpreted and misunderstood Russian foreign policy, which is unchanged since Peter the Great. I mean, the Russian foreign policy is extremely simple. It says that Russia as a superpower or as one of the great powers of the world, it does not tolerate Western influence coming near its borders, and it wants to see some kind of cordon sanitaire around the country, and it doesn't want to see colored revolutions in Georgia, in the Ukraine, in Kyrgyzstan, and in other countries where the CIA has plotted very good coups and bringing in people like Saakashvili, like Yushchenko previously in the Ukraine, and now these people who are running the Ukraine today. It is something which we have to understand in order to understand the reactions of Russia in such a case. Russia is a superpower which is pursuing its own interests, and whether we like it or not, it is going to do so. So I think we have to take this into consideration when we calculate. And we shouldn't be surprised when, for example, the stupid policy of sanctions doesn't work. It was very, very clear from day one, and my party was the only one. I was the only person in this country on the day of announcement of the sanctions in 2014 who stood out and said that the sanctions are not going to work. It is only going to make Russia stronger. It is only going to make Mr. Putin stronger, and it is only going to deepen the conflict even more and more, and it is going to weaken us. In Hungary, enormous economic damage has been caused with the sanctions, and I know that the same is for Finland, the same is for Germany, and the same is for Italy. I've just come from a negotiation with an Austrian, the Austrian vice speaker, deputy speaker of the Austrian parliament. He was saying that the sanctions against Russia have caused enormous damage to the Austrian economy, and there should be a way or a solution to revise this policy, which is a complete mistake.
In these days, I listen many leaders, Aznar, for example, say have the negative perception about the situation in the United States with Trump. What is your impression? What is your feeling about Trump? Do you think it's positive for Europe? It's not positive? Go for the best way? What is your feeling about?
Well, you're right. I only have feelings because Trump is an atypical president. I mean, he's not from the mainstream parties, and I think he has had an atypical campaign and an atypical start in his tenure. But nonetheless, I think here in Hungary, or as a Hungarian, I can only welcome from all the other alternatives, or from all the choices that we were provided with, I think it is fair to say that Hillary Clinton would have been an outright disaster for my country, I think, and for the world as such. I mean, I think that type of interventionist policy, what the Democrats have followed under the Obama regime, and Hillary Clinton was a state secretary. She was in charge of foreign policy, and we could see that all these mistakes which I have mentioned in destabilizing Libya, Syria, Iraq, Hillary Clinton had a great share in this disaster occurring. I think that the Democrats, and especially Hillary Clinton, hasn't a clue of what is going on in the world. They intervene with a messianistic and very, very short-sighted fashion, and everything they touch turns into a disaster. So in this sense, I'm very happy to see Trump's much more, how should I say, inward-looking style of policy making, and less interventionist style. I was very happy for his position on international trade. I'm very happy that he threatened to tear up the NAFTA agreement, the TTIP agreement, the TPP agreement. I'm very happy to see that he's declaring a less interventionist type of foreign policy. I'm also quite happy to see that he's sending the right messages to Europe with regard to defense. I think while a lot of my colleagues were hurt by the statements of Trump saying that the US is not going to guarantee our defense at all costs, we should spend some more on our military and on our defense. I think he's right. I think we have become lazy and too comfortable. I think every country should invest into its own defense, and look at NATO as a cooperation between equal partners, and not raise the hand and be dependent on the US military.
The next year will be election in Hungary. We see in the last year many changes in political affairs. Yesterday, for example, in Netherlands, Socialist Party go from 39 members in Parliament to 9. We know in Brexit in United Kingdom. Do you think probably will be some influence in political in Hungary? This change in Europe, probably your political party will grow, or what is your impression about the change in your country?
I think, I mean, 1 year is a very long time in Hungarian politics. It is very, very difficult to forecast something